Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how you can make this personalised Celtic knot pendant. So in this instance we've personalised it by putting the letter A in the centre here, and it's got a 4-leaf Celtic knot on the outside, and then it's got 4 3-leaf Celtic knots there. There is an alternative video to this in which you can create this pendant in the background, which is a kind of 2D version. A flat version if you like. We're going to show you how to make this one at the front here. So we're going to use Fluid Designer for 3D printing, and I'm going to use a Harrington font. So I'm going to append this letter and add it to the center of the object, and I'm also going to use a connector. So I'm going to use one of these, this wire connector, for you to put the chain through. And we're going to use some patterns, and I'm going to use the Celtic knot pattern. And I'm going to not use this one. This is the flat version. This is the 4-leaf Celtic knot flat version. That's 002. This is 302, 3's for 3D in our labeling system. So if I just drag and drop that object onto the workspace, I'll just switch on screencast key, so any key presses I make should be displayed down here. And so we've got this 4-leaf Celtic knot pattern. It is a curve. We can change the cross section of it quite easily just by changing the bevel object over here. And I'm going to do it as a square cross section here of 1 by 1. If we look at the size of this object, this is quite small. It's only 10 millimeters. The grid is 20 millimeters. So I'm actually going to scale this up first of all, and we can just do S on the keyboard for scale. And I'm just going, I could drag the mouse, but I'm going to just type in the number 2 and then press enter. Now when we do that, the thickness of this object is now all wrong compared with our size of 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter here. So you must always do Control A and apply the scale, and notice when you do that, the thickness, the cross section resets itself to the exact value we've got over here, and that's really important in 3D printing. So if I go to View and Top View now, what I'm going to do now is in Patterns Celtic Knot there is this 3-dimensional 3-leaf Celtic knot pattern, and I'm going to append that to this document. So if I go to File and Append, I want 3-leaf and I want 301, not 001. And we always append the object, so it's a Celtic knot pattern, and append that from the library. Now, it's not currently selected when you've just got the red light border around it, so click on it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scale that down. Now I want to scale it down so it will fit in here. So perhaps I'll just move it across here a little bit first of all, and just rotate it. I want to rotate it the other way. So you've got to decide where you want to orientate this. So I'm going to orientate it. So I've probably gone a bit too far there actually. I'll stick with 30 degrees I think, or rather minus 30. So I'm going to press S on the keyboard to scale it, and I'm going to use the mouse this time. And obviously I need to scale it so it's going to overlap, so I'm going to click there at 0.6 scale. I need it to touch this and touch this, so I do Control A and apply the scale, because otherwise the thickness isn't right anymore. Now you see it thickens up there because we've scaled down. Now I want to change the cross section of this to be the same as the 4-leaf one, so I want 1 by 1, so it'll square it up. Now you see it's not actually touching at the moment, but I'll fix that in a minute. So if I go to View and Top View, first of all what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this and put it in each of these 4 corners. So if I go to the modifiers here, if I go to Add Modifier, and I'm going to use a mirror modifier. Now you might not have been able to see that at home, but it did mirror it, but you can see it's putting it in the same place here, or more or less the same place. And the reason for that is these values here, the rotation and the location. We need to reset these back to 0. So the rotation, we could do it on the menu system, but I tend to do Control A and apply the rotation. So that sets that back to 0. But we need to set these to 0, the location. So Control A and apply the location. And you can see they've set to 0 now, and this is now in the right position. All I need to do is probably click X-axis. Yeah, there we are. So we can switch the mirror on here and position this, provided we set the origin of this object back to the cursor here. That's what you're doing when you set these back to 0. You're setting the origin of this object back to the center here. Now what I want to do is I want to squash down my 4-leaf curve. I want to squeeze it down in the Z direction so that it's actually touching, clearly touching all of that 3-leaf object. It's not clearly touching at the moment. So if I go to View and Front View, and I need to go into edit mode now, so I press the Tab key on the keyboard and I want to select all the control points, and I can do that by pressing A on the keyboard. That will highlight all the control points. And I want to scale now just in the Z direction, so I'm scaling the control point, so it's S on the keyboard, and I want to limit it to the Z direction, so I press Z on the keyboard, and you can see the blue line there, and I'm just going to squeeze that down probably to there, so you can see now that it's clearly interlocking with those 3-leaf Celtic knots. So I can press the Tab key on the keyboard to come out of edit mode there, and if I just go to top view, so that can now be made into one object. I now want to put a letter A in the center here to personalize that, and I'm going to do that using the Harrington fonts. So it's Patterns Alphabet Harrington fonts is where I want to append it from. So if we go to File and Append, and we always go up to the Groups folder. Once we're in the Groups folder, we can find all our folders with patterns on the system. And I want Alphabet Harrington font. I'm going to do letter A. I always want to append the object, so it's Harrington font A. Append that from the library. Now that's quite large, so I'm going to select it first of all and press S on the keyboard and scale that down, and then I'm going to do Control A and apply the scale, and that thickens it back up again. Okay, so you can see my letter A there in the center. The only thing I want to do now is to, I'll just go to View and Top View again. I'm going to now add a connector to put the chain through. So that's in 3D Templates Connectors. So I go to File and Append. Just go up through the menu system until you get to the Groups folder. I want 3D Templates Connectors. And I'm going to put a wire connector with a 2mm diameter hole in it. And again, you must always click on it to select it properly. And we just move it up there. Now, how am I going to locate this? Well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over here and orientate it in that direction, and I'm going to rotate my letter A. When I go the other way, so probably if I type 45 degrees in there, no, sorry, minus 45 is what I need. Okay, so we're going to imagine that the pendant is going to be in that orientation. So we want to move up this one up here. Probably rotate that one minus 45 as well, and then we just want to position it, and I'll switch off the snap and I'll just do G to grab it. So I just want to position it up there, and I'm trying to keep it in line with the center point. Now you can see at the moment this object is rounded, so I'm going to actually square that off. So I'm going to do that as 1 by 1 in the same way that the 4 and 3 leaf patterns are. And if I just zoom in really closely there should be a slight issue with the orientation, so I could rotate it a little bit, but there's an alternative to that, and is if I go into edit mode, if I just click that control point at the very bottom, what I'm going to do is, if I select radius here, and I'm just going to reduce this radius value slightly, I'm just melting it essentially into the object. Now I could actually move that back a little bit. Oops, I don't want to move the control point, I want to move the whole object. So let me press A on the keyboard for all the control points there, and I'm just going to move that back a touch. Yeah, and I'm just going to increase this a bit. I don't want to thin it out too much. Probably 0.9 is the minimum I really want to do. It's just sticking out at the back there, so I'll press A on the keyboard again to highlight all the control points, and I'm just pulling that down. I don't want it sticking out at the back there, I don't want it sticking out at the front, so I'll just take that down a touch. There we are, that should be okay now. If you thin that out too much, this won't be 3D printable. You'll go below, well below a millimetre, so you have to be a little bit careful there. Okay, so that's how I can do that. So I could have rotated it, might have been easier. But now what you want to do is to convert all of these objects to meshes and join them together. Don't join them as they are, because this has got a modifier on them. So just go to Tools, Object Tools, convert the 3-leaf ones to a mesh. Tools, Object Tools, convert the 4-leaf one to a mesh. Convert the connector to a mesh. Convert the font, the letter A, to a mesh. And then if you just hold down the Shift key, I'm going to click on the 3-leaf ones, the 4-leaf ones, and the connector. A was already highlighted. Tools, Object Tools, and join them together. Now because these were parametric smart objects, you can get away with doing that. And that's now ready to go to Netfab. So if you just go to File and Export, I tend to use the wavefront format. I tend to save it to the desktop, so I saved it earlier as Personalised 3D Celtic knot pendant with 4 and 3 leaves. So you export that, and then just go to Netfab and just run it through the repair procedure in Netfab. You always have to do that with Fluid Designer, and then you're ready to upload it to Shapeways or to your slicer. Okay, so good luck in creating your own. Thank you.